Hi, in today's video, I want to share with you on the topic store up for yourself a treasure in heaven. Okay, basing on the text, Gospel according to Matthew chapter 6, verse 19 to 21. Alright, so Jesus says, do not store up, do not lay up a treasure. Do not lay up for yourself treasure upon earth, where moth and rust do corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourself treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust do corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Okay? So this verse is saying that as a believers of Christ, we must completely have trust in God. Kingdom righteousness, having a good relationship with God is not enough, but we also need to have a right attitude towards a material possession, because yes, we need to have a right attitude toward material possession. So Jesus said in the Jewish religion, almsgiving, praying, and fasting. These three elements are very important in the Jewish religion. That's why Jesus said, when you pray, do not be like hypocrites, for they like to stand in the synagogue and like to pray standing at the street corner just to be seen by people, so that when people have seen praying, they have already received a reward. They have already received a glory from the man. But you, when you pray, go into your room and close the door and pray in secret, so that your heavenly Father who sits in secret will reward you openly. And Jesus also continued to say that when you pray, do not use vain repetition. Here, vain repetition means a nonsense word or a meaningless words. So the focus here is not about using a word. It's not about the repetition, but a meaningless word or nonsense, because the hypocrite thinks that if they speak many words, because of speaking many words, they thought that their prayer will be answered by God. But Jesus said, no, it was not so, because before you pray, God knows what you are going to ask. He already knows. So your prayer should make sense. It should be clear. Just don't think that by speaking many words, like by speaking many useless, meaningless words, that just saying because of many words, don't think that God will answer your prayer. Do not do that. That's what Jesus is teaching. And also Jesus said, when you do alms, do not let your right hand know what your left hand is doing. Because the hypocrites, they like to sound a trumpet when they help money to the poor and needy or to anyone, okay? They like to tell other people to receive a praise from the people. But you do not be like the hypocrites, okay? So that your Father who sits in secret will reward you openly. And the other one is fasting, okay? When you do fasting, apply hair oil and wash your face so that people will not notice that you are doing a fasting. Like 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 hypocrite, okay? For they disfigure their face, they show their face, they sadden their face so that people will notice that they are doing fasting. They are so religious. When people look at in that way, they have already received a reward from the people, they have already received a glory from man. But you do not show to the people that you are doing fasting. But when your Father in heaven who sits in secret will reward you openly. All right? Okay, so Jesus said, no one can serve two masters, okay? Because either he will love the one and hate the other, which means you cannot serve God and money at the same time, okay? Because of this reason, Jesus said, a believer must completely have a trust in God, that God will provide all our needs. God says, why are you worried what to eat, what to wear? And yes, consider the lilies, for they do not dwell and spin, okay? Consider the birds of the air, they do not sow and they do not reap, they do not gather in a barn, okay? But God feeds them. So if God care that much, okay, about birds and, okay, those lilies in the field, then how much he will love you. You are much better than birds of the air and the lilies in the field. You are much valuable than those things, okay? So God is more, God is God is willing to give you so much, okay? All you have to do is you have to ask to give. You have to know to open the door for you. That's what Jesus promised us in the book of Matthew, okay? So we just have to do our duty, okay? We have to put complete trust in God, okay? So, yeah, Jesus say, when you are too obsessed about money and material position, okay, you will, you will gone astray. You will go away from God, okay, because you are too much obsessed about money and material possession. And because of that, you will started cheating, you will started lying, okay, to gain, okay, something, to make profits, okay. So this doesn't mean that we should not earn money, we should not buy a new house, a new car, we should not live a luxury life. It's not like that, okay? But this means, for example, let's say you have a crores and crores of money, But even if you have that much money also, you don't want to help other people. See, that means you are violating the use of law, and that is a sin, okay? And yes, let's say even if you don't have crores of money, but let's say you have let's say you have 10 20 lakhs. That's enough money to survive, right? But you don't want to use that money to, let's say, to celebrate a Thanksgiving or your children's birthday, okay? That is a sin, okay? Because you are not using the money in the right way, okay? Or you don't want to help to the poor and needy. That means you are sinning. That's what it means, okay? That's why we have to earn in a right way. If we earn in the right way, and if you use the money in the right way, okay, I think that's totally fine, okay? That's what I believe, all right? Yes. So when you, and also when you too much obsessed about material possession, you started jealous of other property, you know, you envy other property, other things, okay? And your mind, your heart will be full of negative thoughts, okay? This is what it means, evil eye, okay? In the verse 23, okay? This is what evil eye means, okay? So when your eye is single, the light of the body is eye, okay? And eye is the light of the body. And if your eye is darkness, then how great the darkness will be, okay? So this means when your heart, when your mind is filled with greediness, jealous of other property, okay? So a believer cannot live like that, okay? Cannot. That's why Jesus said you cannot serve two masters. You cannot serve God and money, okay? But rather you have to completely surrender to God, completely depends on God, that He will provide all our needs, all right? Okay, so yes, and the other thing Jesus said is, in the hearts of prayer, forgiveness is in the hearts of prayer. Sorry, okay, forgiveness is in the hearts of prayer, okay? So Jesus said that if you cannot forgive other trespasses, then I will also not forgive your trespasses. So if you cannot forgive other wrong, okay, then God will also not forgive our sin, and He will not answer our prayer. That's why if you want to answer your prayer by God, then you have to forgive your friends, okay? If you may be right, he may be wrong, okay? But just forgive him for the righteousness' sake, okay? Because you don't need to store up treasure here on this earth, because this earth is not a permanent land. Here a thief may break in and steal away your property, or a moth and a rust will spoil your property, your treasure, okay? But in heaven, where there is no thief will break in, where there is no thief or moth and rust will not spoil your treasure, okay? So practicing a kingdom righteousness is the way to life. All right, once you pass away from this earth, okay, when you die, okay, we don't know when we are going to die, okay? Our life is very unpredictable, okay? And Jesus is coming soon, okay? Jesus is coming soon. That's what I feel, okay? And before Jesus is come, for God, one day is 1 year, okay? So we are going to die, and on that day, we will find out what is right and wrong, okay? And we are not going to live forever. We are all are going to die one day, okay? So before you die, well, there's still time, okay? Do the right things and gather for yourself, okay? Store up for yourself a treasure in heaven, so that your reward will be great in heaven when you die from this earth, okay? All right, with this say, I want to conclude my sharing here. If you enjoyed this sharing, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.